really need to be there, go ahead and order your ticket. And if you have any questions about the process, just let me know. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tara, for all your work. I have the pleasure of introducing Liana Nikelski today. So after 20 years in the nonprofit sector, Liana now leads a team at American Family Insurance that partners in community to close equity gaps and increase financial inclusion. These partnerships foster communities of care that nurture, educate, inspire, and advocate for economic mobility and financial freedom in BIPOC communities. She obtained her bachelor's degree and an executive MBA from UW-Madison and a certificate from the Global Social Enterprise Initiative at Georgetown University. Liana is a mother, daughter of an immigrant, treasurer of the Sherman Phoenix Foundation, and board member of the UW Credit Union. She's a published author and fierce advocate for democracy. She's been recognized and featured for her community service in Milwaukee Magazine as a visionary leader, in the 2017 issue of Faces of Milwaukee as a rising leader by the Hispanic Professionals of Greater Milwaukee in 2018, as one of Madison 365 Si Se Puede 2019 Wisconsin's 34 Most Powerful Latinos, featured in BizTimes The Interview in 2019, a Milwaukee Business Journal 40 Under 40 awardee in 2020, as well as being recognized as a young professional power broker by the same publication in 21 through 2023. Also in 23, Liana was named the Junior Achievement of Wisconsin Peak Performer, which recognizes a Metro Milwaukee individual who has shown excellence in her field and a commitment to the community. Last but not least, she has co-authored over 24 articles in Nature's Pathways magazine, is a contributing author to I Didn't Know There Were Latinos in Wisconsin. Throughout her career and in her professional life, Liana has committed to building alliances with other agents of social change to work towards a more equitable existence and improve quality of life for all. Liana is the proud mother of 3 children, enjoys dancing, traveling, reading, playing in parks, cultural amenities, and embraces the philosophy and call to action to think globally and act locally. Thanks so much for being here, Liana.
I need an abbreviated bio. I did not realize you were going to read that. Well, thanks everyone for having me here. I'm between you and this amazing panel, so I'm going to keep my remarks pretty short, and I'm sure that Dr. Stacia Thompson will get to the Sherman Phoenix Foundation story and some of the origins of this program. But I just wanted to share a little bit about why I was one of the co-nominators for this program for PD. So as a PD member, in addition to all of the wonderful things Rebecca mentioned, I am a member of PD. I also work with American Family Insurance as a community and social impact director, and we're a partner to Sherman Phoenix, and a proud board member of the Sherman Phoenix Foundation. So this is a space where many of my worlds get to intersect. I have a confession. I'm still thinking about Usher this past Sunday. But
aren't we all?
I was literally dead ass asleep about an hour ago because I'm 36 weeks pregnant, excuse my language. So I'm a little tired too, so I brought a bunch of notes, but I'm not going to read all of them. And I think we were going to have slides and everything, but there are no slides, so I'm just going to do a quick why the program, why Sherman Phoenix, and then I do have an intro to read on Stacia because I do not want to miss a beat there. So Danielle Bly and I co-nominated the Women in Mom Entrepreneur Program and the Sherman Phoenix Foundation for this funding because it's just so incredibly impactful. Many of you already know the Sherman Phoenix story. For those who don't, it is an incredible community and space founded 5 years ago in the Sherman Park neighborhood, coming from politely called civil unrest, but really a lot of pain, anger, frustration that destroyed a building, but through the love and care of some amazing women leaders and entrepreneurs in our community, Joanne Sabir and Julie Kaufman, who are not here right now, co-developed and created this space as a way to rise from the ashes, quite literally. And to see what the space has become over the past 5 years is incredible. There are a few things I did want to read about the accomplishments that Sherman Phoenix has had since its founding. Hosted over 250 community programs and events, has seen over 10,000 customers, provided 100 pop-up business opportunities, that's just to name a few. 89% of Sherman Phoenix founding businesses remain open after 5 years, and that's compared to the national average of only 20% of Black-owned businesses remaining open after the first 18 months. And that in itself is amazing. I think it's a pure testament to the love and care and community of support that has really wrapped its arms around this space. I was asked to share a personal story. Recently, we had a community baby benefit at the Sherman Phoenix to celebrate me and one of my team members, but also to, and I think this is in the spirit of what the Sherman Phoenix stands for, a call of action to support moms and families across Milwaukee. And so we asked people to come, celebrate, make donations to the Milwaukee Diaper Mission. And people showed up. It was an incredible show out of support and love, and many of the women were also moms, and so I feel like this segment and me being able to introduce this panel is just such an honor and such a pleasure, having my 3 teenagers at home and 1 on the way. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dr. Stacia Thompson, and then I will leave you to the panel. I feel like everyone probably knows Stacia already, so I don't know if you need much introduction, but I, like Becky, couldn't help. I want to read your bio because it is really impressive. Dr. Stacia Thompson is the first president and CEO of the Sherman Phoenix Foundation in Milwaukee. Dr. Thompson is known for being a change agent in developing economic empowerment and workforce strategies, with deep expertise in community development, program development, entrepreneurial services, and economic development. She is also an expert speaker and facilitator for diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Her previous roles include tenures at the University of Wisconsin-Parkside, Gateway Technical College, City Colleges of Chicago, and the YWCA of Metropolitan Chicago. In addition to her professional roles, Thompson has served on many boards, including Community Women's Club, Hispanic Business and Professionals Association, National Council of Workforce Education, Career Launch Chicago Advisory Committee, Cook County Coordinated Reentry Council, Digital Manufacturing and Design Innovation Institute Workforce Development Board, Racine Creative Center, The Main Project, Islands of Brilliance, and Fathers Making Progress. My goodness, do you sleep?
No.
She is a past recipient of the UW Parkside Community Service Award, YWCA of Southeast Wisconsin Women of Distinction Award, Black Softball Circuit Hall of Fame inductee. That is cool, I didn't know that. Professional women's, all the other stuff is great too, don't get me wrong, but I know who I'm going to invite for our next softball team. Professional Women's Network for Service Inspiring Women Leadership Award, Milwaukee Business Journal Woman of Influence, 98.3 Black History Jammin' Legend, and Milwaukee Community Journal Diamond Honoree. Under her leadership, the Sherman Phoenix was awarded the Biz Times Nonprofit Social Enterprise of the Year. What isn't listed in her bio is that she's also a very mean cook, delighting the taste buds and tummies of families and friends throughout Southeast Wisconsin. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Stacia Thompson and the rest of the panel.
I'm going to move up in this chair because I think my feet are going to dingle. I kind of feel like Oprah, you get a car, you get a car. So thank you for those warm introductions. Thank you, everyone, for everyone who is participating today, those who are here with us in-house, as well as those of you online. I'd like to acknowledge all of you. So what I have the pleasure of doing is introducing 3 of the 9 of the women who are in our Women in Mom Entrepreneurship Network, Elevate Your Brand Accelerator. As you know, as Liana shared, we have significance in the naming of things that we do. We do things on purpose, and sometimes we have, Freudian slips that happen. So when we were creating the Women in Mom Entrepreneurship Network, I never realized that the acronym would be WMEN. So I was like, stock exchange, maybe, we'll see. And then when we decided to do the accelerator, I have to commend and really thank our champions, Danielle Bly, Joanne Sabir, and Liana, but also thank you to PD, because I want to say the third time is the charm. I'm not going to name any organizations. However, I had applied for funding for this what we're doing now 2 previous times to not get funded. And then the charitable fund became available, and me and my grant writing team said, let's try it one more time. And I have to say the third time's a charm. And just even the process and the interviewing that we went through with professional dimensions, even if we hadn't gotten it, just to be, among those to be considered, we were appreciative of. And then when we got the call, I was just like, oh my goodness, shit, we got it. So we are just so grateful and amazed and just appreciative, because it's even bigger than I think either of the organizations thought it was going to be when we were awarded. Typically, you've awarded and it supports, the various organizations, but we really looked at a way, and we were actually asked in the interview, in what ways can PD engage, with the program that's going on? And I think we've got some great things going on and things to happen. So with that being said, we do have a number of things going on with our Women in Mom Entrepreneurship Network. We created the Mommypreneur programs because who are our hardest working entrepreneurs? Women and moms. Because women, we take care of everybody, other family members, spouses, children's, other people's children. We are the schedulers, sometimes working a full-time job along with running our business. So we want to do some programming, and we want to do something not just where it's the business acceleration services, but also personally develop our women and be that support system for each other, which is why we have this cohort. So we have started out with 11 women. We had over 50 applicants, which shows us there's a need, right? And we had 11 chosen originally. It was they represented 10 businesses. However, in true, strong women fashion, 2 of the women from one of the businesses stepped down because they had to decide between doing this or doing a mission project. And they said that Jesus led their heart to do this mission project. So they bowed out, but for great reason. So now we have 9 women who are currently going through the Elevate Your Brand. And it's called Elevate Your Brand for a few reasons. Because we are elevating women, empowered women empower women. But then also it's Elevate Your Brand because not only are they getting professional and personal development, but they've also been partnered with a brand strategist who they're going to get to rebrand and relaunch their businesses as part of a pitch contest at the end of the 6 months. So with that being said, I would like to introduce the amazing women that I have here with me on the panel. In our middle here we have Mrs. Jamila Carney. Jamila Carney is a multifaceted minister of movement, inspiration, and joy. From dance, yoga, public speaking, and teaching, Jamila is able to curate an energy that is indescribable and infectious for audiences that range from youth and adults in schools, churches, events, and most importantly, in the streets. Jamila is uniquely called to deliver a message with Jesus-fueled mantra of, I don't belong to the church, I belong to the streets. Jamila is the owner of Agape Yogastry, a peculiar ministry that uses unique movement of art of yoga to go beyond the breath to give honor to God, the giver of breath. Jamila uses her body in a way that develops and nurtures creative energy in herself and others through dance and yoga classes, as well as choreography and consultation services. She also curates beautiful dance experiences for special events. Jamila holds several advanced degrees from multiple institutions of higher learning, as well as several professional certification. She resides in Milwaukee with her most distinguished accomplishments, her husband Theo and sons Rashawn, Keenan, Adrian, and nephew son Usher. That is Mrs. Jamila Carney. To her left, we have Dr. Joya Creer. Dr. Creer is a seasoned professional with over 20 years of experience in the fields of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Throughout her career, she has been dedicated to advancing equity and social justice as a mentor, leader, instructor, and speaker. She is an assistant vice president at Marquette University, where she leads initiatives focused on inclusion, belonging, and wellness. She is also a freelance consultant, collaborating with organizations to implement inclusive practices and improving retention strategies. Driven by a passion for inclusion, Dr. Joya recently launched her business, Culturally Relevant Solutions. She's committed to empowering clients through culturally centric services. She believes when clients build upon a foundation of diversity, equity, and inclusion, they are keenly positioned to narrow the gap between who they are and who they aspire to become. Dr. Joya holds a doctorate in counseling psychology from the Pennsylvania State University. She earned her bachelor's degree from Howard University and her master's degree from University of Wisconsin-Madison. Dr. Creer. And last but certainly not least is Michelle Lyle. Michelle is a proud Milwaukee native who attended the University of Wisconsin-Madison, earning her bachelor's and master's of science in industrial and systems engineering. Throughout her decade of experience in supply chain, materials, and program development, she never lost her passion for traveling. Throughout college and afterward, Michelle fostered her passion for language and travel. She repurposed the skills of process development and systems thinking to the venture of founding International Travel Advisor. She works with her clients to provide holistic support, leaping forward to their dreams of living in another country, maximizing their freedom to curate a personal version of work-life balance. She has also lived in South Africa, France, Brazil, and Martinique. As as well as visited many other countries. Since becoming an entrepreneur, she has won awards for pitching her first year, including a 4M competition and the Wisconsin Big Ideas Tournament. She is now carving space in the market by generating a following on social media platforms such as LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. She is excited to unveil her new branding later this year, post her experience with the Branding Accelerator by the Sherman Phoenix with the support of Professional Dimensions. So thank you. And this is our introduction to our... So we're going to hop right in with some... and we can start right here to my left. So you all heard about and learned about that there was going to be this opportunity for this Elevate Your Brand. Can you tell me, after going through the interview process and now about a little over a month in, how meaningful is it for you to be selected for the Women Elevate Your Brand Accelerator, and what's been your experience so far?
Thank you. It's been great. I knew I wanted to apply and aspire to get in because I really think that being around women, especially when we have our barriers down, we can really uplift each other. And I thought that that would be an opportunity for me to get to that next stone in my path of where I'm trying to get to. So I had very high hopes in applying and going through the interview. In the interview, I definitely was clear on the challenges that will be ahead within myself, right? Am I ready to challenge myself? Am I ready to grow? Am I really ready to be able to get new perspectives that go against what I thought I knew? And that is what I'm experiencing now. There's been a few tasks in both sides of it, whether it's focusing on my business brand or personal brand, where I've needed to check myself and say, are you being your whole self? Are you showing up fully and open and receiving what's being told to you? It needed to go back and rework a few things. But again, being in a space of the women that are my instructors as well as in my cohort, it's safe. And I love being here, and I think that the remaining 5 months of this will only expand me that much more.
Completely honored to be part of such an amazing experience. I actually have grown with the Sherman Phoenix. So being a member of that community, I saw the Sherman Phoenix kind of grow into what it's become. I actually even worked in one of the businesses that started in the Sherman Phoenix, expanded, and had to move for growth. And so I've always been an advocate of what the Sherman Phoenix does as it relates to elevating businesses. So when the opportunity presented itself, and Sherman Phoenix was sponsoring it or championing it, I was like, absolutely. I have been in business-ish for a little bit of time. You know, COVID really kind of put a kibosh on lots of things, and I had originally intended to launch my business March of 2020. And then March 14th happened, and so there you have it. But just being around, like Michelle said, just being around a group of women where we have safe space, where we are all experiencing similar things, where, you know, we all have families that we have to tend to. Some of us also have full-time jobs that we are working. So just really being in a space where your journey and your experience is not only understood, but appreciated and honored. Being at the Sherman Phoenix, I heard a lot of buzz about how many applicants there were and how hard the decision was going to be. And I knew it was going to be a thing when I interviewed, because those questions were very hard hitting. Basically, they were like, are you ready to forget everything that you know and do something different? And I was like, sure, why not? I mean, even to the point where there was a question where I was asked about my logo. So tell me about your logo. And how committed are you to it? Like, what's really important? Like, do you like it? Like, would you mind changing it? And so it was like, yeah, I'm here for all of it. But knowing that it was going to be a deep dive, after being in for a little bit over a month, I am overwhelmed. It is quite a lot. for accelerated programs that happen in 12 weeks, I don't know how people do it. Like, we're going to do it in 6 months. It's mindful, it's encouraging, and everything that we've done has meaning, even if we don't quite understand it. But we've been approaching it collectively as a group, like, okay, we trust the process, and so we're going to show up as our whole selves every time. And really, when we don't show up, say, hey, I'm not my whole self today, but I appreciate you holding space for me. So just completely honored to be one of the 11 businesses to be chosen.
You never want to go after Jamila. That means you did a great job. So I would say, I think for me, my experience has been very similar to others folks who have already spoken today. When I heard about it, it was literally on LinkedIn, and somebody that I follow who I actually have met in the city had posted it and didn't say much about it. It was just like, here's the flyer, and I was like, And that was, and I am the person who's at the ideation stage of, I've done some freelance work, but really trying to put together a plan and an entire business around what I do freelance-wise. And so I was like, well, I don't know. Who do I ask? I'm not sure. Like Jamila, I'm in and out of the Sherman Phoenix, and so knowing that vibe of community was something that really resonated with me, because of course you can find coaches and other programs, and you do it on your own. But the idea of having an actual supportive community supporting me really is what drew me to it. I will also say the one line in the application, which was, if you do not have a business, but you have a good idea, still apply. I was like, I needed to see that. I needed to know that that was a space where an idea would be just enough to get in the open door. And so literally, similarly to Jamila, the interview was intense. They asked me about the name, and I was like, I thought I had a good name, but sure. You're not going to tell me now? Okay, yes, I like it, and I'm open. And I think that is what they have asked of us from the interview up until now, is to be open, to be honest, and to also push back. You know, if you really feel strongly about something, there's space to talk about it. And what I've appreciated from my colleagues is the vulnerability that all of us had to come together with over the last month. And we have moments where we're all just staring at the screen if we're virtual, or staring at each other like, who wants to answer that question first? like not I. But I think also having women modeling being entrepreneurs, being mothers, being leaders, activists, yoga instructors, you know, folks who have great ideas that we want to get involved in. Talking about international travel, we were like, I know we're supposed to be in the cohort, but we also like to be clients.
It's all about community.
It is, but it's the synergy as well, right? That together we are such, I think, a creative force that we feed into each other as much as our coaches and our leaders feed into us. And so I'm nervous about where we're going, but I do trust that we are all in the right place. And I'm appreciative that just having an idea was enough, and that I was enough to get in. So.
Awesome. Okay, we'll start with you again,
Okay.
so that you don't have to go behind Jamila.
Thank you. I like the way you're thinking.
So, you know, as she mentioned, it's about community, it's about supporting one another. One of the things that we did put on the recruitment flyers, this was something that was made for women by women, and everything was done intentionally. So our practitioners who actually lead it, one is here, is Kalita Williams, who's our brand strategist and photographer extraordinaire, and also the other practitioner is Dr. Shakia Curtis, so someone else who is, very respected in the entrepreneurial space in Milwaukee and an amazing facilitator. And we, chose them on purpose and because of their strengths and what we knew they could pour into these women. And just a side note, today's food, if you're here, was also catered by one of the women who is in this cohort, which is Tamisha of Baked Dreams. So book her because you should. So with that being said, and what you all just said about, y'all all, also now supporting each other and wanting to be clients and pouring into each other. Could you share with us, what are some challenges that you feel that women entrepreneurs encounter from your perspective?
Gotcha. I'd say for me, I look at it as both internal and external challenges. So the internal challenges of, am I ready for this? Do I know enough to get my feet wet and get in the door? But also there's a little voice that says you went in this particular route and you need to stay this pace. Do you have a business mind? They know now I am not thrilled about numbers. We're making friends though. But also bringing all of that to the table and knowing those are barriers that I have to traverse, but also knowing that it is totally possible. I think being among a cohort of folks who are at different stages of business development is very motivating, because we also get to see each other really address our own individual challenges, but it becomes a cohort challenge when we're all trying to figure out, like, well, what about this? And had you thought about that? Or I need to write that down for myself. I think the other piece is, I do a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And so I'm aware of the statistics around women and income compared to white men. As a black woman, I'm only going to make 67 cents on that dollar. And so how that looks on a day-to-day basis with my paycheck, what that looks like in terms of my retirement package, which we're talking about, what that looks like in terms of what I have to invest, it's a domino effect. And so when you also talk about those intersections of, I'm also getting older, more beautiful, but older. And so really thinking about, age and gender and sexual orientation and religion, et cetera, that these are all barriers that I didn't ask for, but I'm certainly up to the challenge. And I'm aware that as women, we also are caregivers. And so whether we are taking care of children, elders, that's who we are, that's who I'm called to be in a lot of ways. And so also juggling and balancing those different roles, in addition to, I have an idea and I would like to kind of pursue that as well. And so making time and making space, I think, is something that we usually figure out how to make it happen, but putting yourself on the front burner is not something that we are, raised to do. We are raised to raise up everyone else first. And so, a lot of my conversations with Dr. Curtis have really been around, how do you get on your own to-do list? How do you get in that top 3? How do you get in the top 1? Because if you are full, now you can give your overflow to others. And so that was a new mind shift for me. It was like, oh, let me write that one down. Because I just hadn't thought about it that way, because that's not how I was raised. I was raised of, okay, if you pull it out there, it'll come back to you. And not necessarily thinking about there's different ways to get those things accomplished. And so I'm really appreciative of the challenges that we have in this cohort, but also realizing it does connect well beyond just this one business idea.
And now I have to follow Dr. Joya. Ditto what she said, right? From my perspective, what women entrepreneurs face as a barrier, number one, is just being a woman. Like Dr. Joya said, a lot of times we are boxed into an ideology that we are caregivers, and that it is almost expected for us to care for everyone else before we care for ourselves. As a yoga teacher, as a mindfulness instructor, I was one of the ones that say, hey, I don't pour from the cup at all. And the cohort looked at me like, what? I said, I only pour from the overflow. And so the outside world can only get what falls out of me, and I hold what's inside of me and for those individuals who we are called to care for, and not by choice. Our children, our aging parents, our spouses. So like those individuals are the ones that can get from the cup. And so society says you can't be a woman who's nurturing and caring and loving and authentic and also be a go-getter, also be one who can stand firm on hard decisions, one who can put herself first, one who can make the hard decisions, one who can do all of these things. And so I think the first barrier that we as women entrepreneurs face is just being a woman and having to stand in that role and not be accepted for the ability to do it all, right? Although we all know that we do. I think the stigma that in order to have arrived in society, it's not about how much money you make as a woman. It's not about how many businesses you own. It's not about how many awards you've won. It's really about how many people like your pound cake, or how many children have you had, right? Or how clean is your house? Or how put together is your outfit? And a lot of times we have to contend with those things, and we don't necessarily, as women, get an opportunity to say, hey, I win awards too. Hey, I don't bake pound cakes very good, and I'm still a woman and I'm still successful. And then thirdly, we know being black in America is being black in America, and we have a lot of things that are against us. And so, like Dr. Joya said, looking at that 67 cents on a dollar. And so how do I pursue every dollar that I can get so I can get every 67 cents, but also be respected as a nurturing, loving, soft individual who is, calloused when I need to be. And yeah, that's what I got.
All right. Well, I'll add a little 2 cent more because I absolutely agree. The one thing that I would add to both of what these young ladies said is not letting all of those forces pressing on us force us to change who we are. Right, so I come from the background of engineering and STEM. A lot of my career was in manufacturing plants, where I was possibly the only woman and possibly the only black person in that facility. And I learned to prepare myself in the morning to put on this armor, to make sure that they respected me as a manager, they respected me as an engineer, that they didn't have to go and get so-and-so's buy-in for it to make sure that what I said was correct. And I did that for over a decade. And I did notice how tiresome that could be sometimes, needing to, reinforce that and be able to kind of play the boys' game, right? Making sure I showed up to say, okay, we're playing softball today, let's do it. We're playing football tomorrow, let's do it. And I was ready for it every day, and it left pieces of me where I'm like, well, maybe I just want to come here with my hair in a ponytail and actually do my makeup today and not get a remark about how cute I look, right? Because my degree was not cute. Making this plan was not cute. These things are not cute, right? So let's recognize the same work and sometimes more work that I put in as an engineer to make this work. And I see this on the same side of entrepreneurship, where you're entering the room and they're waiting for the founder to show up. No, that's me, right? You want to speak to me, actually. Or the sidebar conversations at the bar, and it's a different type of boys club, right? And I'm noticing the similarities, but what I'm promising myself and what I'm grateful for this organization is, and this program is that I am not going to lose my softness. I am going to choose to show up, whether it's in sweats today and makeup tomorrow, and do all the things that I know that I'm capable of, and be true to Michelle 100% of the time, and not try to play this boys' game that they try to box us into in order to be successful in their eyes.
Thank you. I'm here for it. Because y'all know I'm always going to show up in some J's. So next we'll start, Jamila, with you. Can you share with us, each of you, what is your approach to making business decisions and taking risks in your industry?
You want me to be completely honest? Prayer and supplication. That is my approach. I wake up every morning and be like, okay, God, what are we doing today? Some days I have made a decision of what I'm going to do, and God will whisper or yell, depending on the day. We're not doing that today. And I'm like, okay, my bad. I did not consult with you today. Here I am now consulting with you. What are we doing? So that is really... I live my life by 4 questions, and I really approach my business decisions this way, because the way that I run business is the way that I run my life. Like, this is a lifestyle. I'm just not running a business. I'm just not a business owner. Question number 1 I ask myself is this a heaven or a hell issue? Like, is somebody's life in the balance? Question number 2 is, do I have capacity to do it? And so that forces me to look at what I have currently, what is before me, and if I have capacity. Third question is, which is the one that I learned in 2023, do I have the authority to do it? So just because I have capacity to do it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm charged to do that thing. And then finally, my final question I asked, do I have a desire to do it? And having a desire to do it really, really allows me not to take on things that I won't be proud of, or not take on things that I won't show up fully as myself. And so as I make business decisions, is it heaven or hell? Is it capacity? Do I have authority? And do I have desire?
So I lean on what's safe for me is data. I definitely did a lot of research and informal interviews around whether there's a need for this, which is kind of how I ran into the glass ceiling, because I'm like, the data tells me yes. Why am I not progressing, right? And I lean on that a lot to make sure that I can pivot the right way, that I am focusing on the right things, because being an army of one, you have to do all the things. And to her point on capacity, you can only do so much, to 100%. And I rather, of the 10 things, even though data is pointing me that way, do 5 or so very well and get the results that I need to continue to progress to the next thing. I think that there are some areas that I'm opening myself up to when I'm making business decisions around like social media and things. That's been a growth opportunity for me. But I recognize it, right? I can't ignore that data of how many people are on LinkedIn every day, how many people are engaging on Instagram, how many clicks am I getting from my social media versus being searched, right? So if I'm saying that is my true north and that's my comfort zone, I can't turn a blind eye to it, even though it's uncomfortable for me to engage with social media. So I go to that first. And secondly, I try to ask for help. Marketing is not something that I'm strong in. I've tried doing things and it just didn't get the result that I wanted. So I'm like, hey, let's outsource this thing, using those terms. Let's outsource this thing. I don't want to put the time into learning how to do this. I do not want to be the master of this. Let's figure out another way of me still being able to give my 100% to these 5 and giving someone else this 6th thing. And it's definitely, having that honest moment with myself has definitely proven to be better than me trying to bump my head against the same wall over and over again. When I'm thinking about what my next thing would be, I really try to look at my runway of what's possible and just make that alignment from a process perspective. I really lean into automation in what I'm doing right now to make sure that I'm an army.
As an engineer.
I am. Yes, this army of one has been going strong in my intern with marketing. So I lean into that a lot and try to figure out if there's a process around it, and then ask myself, do I need a person or do I need to build a process, and kind of look at those forks in the road along the way.
Dr. Joya?
I think for me, it's a couple of different things. One, I'm a thinker and I love to think. And so I don't play chess, but people have often said, you'd be a great chess player because you are constantly thinking about like what the next move is before you make this move. And so if I can think my way in or out of something, like that's kind of my jam. I think the other piece is, as I kept thinking about, should I move forward with this business idea, part of what was spurring me on, and be honest, is working in industry and being an employee, you are at the will of other people's values. And so for me, there have been times where people have said to me, this is important and this is important, and I'm like, that's not the major stakeholder. I get how they're important to somebody, but they're not important to this body. And so for me to have a business where I get to kind of decide what those values are, what my yeses are, what my nos are, which I know we're still struggling with that, I'm working on it. What my nos are really is pushing me to think about, what are those boundaries? What do I say, this is within my capacity to actually do? I mean, I've had freelance clients where they have come to me with a problem and they have described it in a particular way of, these folks are a problem, go fix them. And so I say, okay, let me give it some thought. And then I come back to them and say, okay, here's a different way I would like to move forward if you're in agreement. If they're not in agreement, then it's a best wishes. I'm sure there's somebody out there that will help you accomplish it the way you want to. But for me, this is what I would say, because I think you're going to create a bigger rift than you already have. And so if you're looking about retention and belonging, this is kind of where I think we're going with this. We're also reading the text by Stephen Covey, and I'm a big Stephen Covey fan, as way too many people know. My favorite is start with the end in mind. And so if you know what your goal is, my strategy is, what are the steps we got to create to get there? And again, for me, it's also a values proposition. If we are not happy in our interaction, it's okay. Doesn't mean I'm a bad person, you're a bad organization or individual. It just means we are not in alignment. And I have had to say to folks, I don't think we're in alignment. When you're an employee, that's challenging, right? Because you want to come back the next day and get your benefits. When it's your business, you get to determine what that alignment looks like and how you get there. And so for me, that is a major driver. Also realizing I do have a full-time gig right now. And so also thinking about what is also going to feed me. And I don't mean, monetarily, but there's something about this that I enjoy. Like, I do this for free at times. And so thinking about, if it's something where I feel like somebody is getting something that they need and I'm also being fed, soulfully, I might say yes. I realize that might not be the best business strategy. I'm sure that'll happen in months 2, 3, 4, and 5, and maybe even 6. But right now, it really is about that values alignment for me.
Awesome. We talk about a labor of love or a purpose-driven life. If you find something it's not a job anymore, if it's your purpose, it's a passion. Like, if you can do your passion, it's not work, right? So I actually commend you for turning down people, because sometimes people are just looking for that paycheck or whatever. But if it's not in alignment with your values, I really commend you for saying maybe you should find someone else, because there are many who will not do that, and then it's not for the best of anyone. So with that being said, we're going to piggyback off that last one. This is going to be our final question before we go to question Q&A is, what strategies do you employ to maintain innovation within your industry?
So for me, it's about connection. So just came back from a conference. Yes, they give you information, but it's also the connections, because even if we were all doing the same thing, we're all going to do it differently. I listen to podcasts, reading. If somebody mentions something like in a forum like this, I'm like, oh, they mentioned Stephen Covey. Do I know who that is? Let me see if they're on audiobooks. And also, I have found the more I'm, kind of diving deep into this, ideas and creativity come anywhere. So somebody might have on earrings, for example, and I'm like, what that makes me think of? That thinks of concentric circles that do this and this and this. And yes, it's a nerd out moment for me, but it goes into like a little notebook that is like, this is an idea that really caught my attention. I'm excited about it. How can I translate that into my business? And so part of it, as we've said, is about being open to whatever it is that the messages are coming to you. Like, I'm not seeking them out, but that relevance and that connection that my brain is making is keeping me excited and keeping me motivated to want to know more, and being open to contradictions, that today I might feel this way, tomorrow I could change my mind. And so also for me, the challenge is to stay nimble, that what we did in 2018 is not what we did in 2020, is not what we're doing in 2023. And so also realizing that I need to grow with my clients, with the industry, and also be willing to kind of have some industries intersect, because that's what we're seeing now, that in DEI, you have folks who are doing HR work who are also now becoming DEI experts, and that was not necessarily where their destination was when they started. And so some of that is driven by metrics, some of that is driven by finance, but also being aware, like, that is a trend. Now, I have my opinions about that. We can talk about that later. But also realizing I can't stop some of the trends from happening. I need to know what's going on and what is the cost and the benefits of the trends that happen. And so since I'm kind of early in the process, for me, it really is about taking it all in as it is valuable and trustworthy.
And Jamila.
TikTok. I'm kidding. Not so much. I stay innovative really by following the trends. Where are the trends? The trends, a lot of times, especially in movement, is in TikTok. I follow a lot of well-respected yoga instructors that do things globally. I am always listening to music. I have 2 teenage sons and 2 preteen sons. So we're always having conversations about what they're experiencing, what's going on at school, what's going on in your friend group. What music are you listening to? I just learned that Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign got an album out. Yeah, I learned that yesterday. But if this is what is driving the young people, how do I pull that in to make it relevant, right? I stay innovative by ensuring that I have the latest pair of sneakers. Simply because when I'm in the middle schools working with young boys and we're talking about yoga and mindfulness, they don't want to hear that. But when TT Jam comes into the classroom and she got on some ones that are retro that they've never seen before, now they're interested in what I have to say, where I got my shoes, and now we can have a conversation about shoes and who's the GOAT, and let's talk about what's the greatest of all time and how do you become your greatest of all time. And so just being innovative by staying up on the trends. I am always a student, so I practice yoga myself at least 3 or 4 times a week with individuals who I respect locally and globally. And then finally, being meditative, having conversations with the creator. He is the most innovative. And so following those particular trends, so taking that time with self and with the creator to see where the world is going and taking cues to invent and reinvent in that manner.
All right. The way I stay innovative in this space is really using the technology around me. I am recognizing that even though it was more exciting and inspiring to tell my mom, hey, I will go to Brazil and I will let you know when I'm coming back. It is scary for other people, right? It's very scary, even though that desire is there. They want to do it and they say, oh, I'd love to. This is my dream. But, right, I use automation to say, okay, I will have all the information around the visa requirements, the cost of living, the type of flights, what airlines, what are your preferences for those, areas to live in. So in my background of my website, I have RSS feeds running, automatic updates of job postings, updates on the latest healthcare to get if you're moving internationally, and having that going in current. So when they're coming to me, when they ask some of these probing questions, which is really, how do you make this safe for me? I can answer all of that very quickly for them, and then we can start having the conversation around, this is why I'm really scared, and this is why I'm really telling myself no, and here are the things that I really need secured so that we can move forward and get in on this plane. So I like using the technology that way, so I have all of that in my back pocket. Instantaneously, and have more rich conversations with my clients so that I can push them forward on what they really want to do.
Technology, when it works, right?
Yes, yes. I cannot keep details on about 65 countries in my head. I cannot.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. This was very insightful. We hope that you would follow them on socials, go support their businesses, as well as, we can also share the businesses of the other 6 women. But at this time, I'm not sure if there is time, but if any questions. Now I really feel like Oprah.
First of all, thank you. I have been taking diligent notes, not texting, because I'm also an entrepreneur. 2 questions. One, what is the outcome? What is your vision for once you're done with this program? And 2, how can we in this room help you get there?
You go first.
All right. Fair point. Well, my vision for this is really, and I'm kind of shifting in this, going through the process, is that I'm recognizing that I am more of a lifestyle coach than a travel advisor. And that is what is more aligned with my vision of allowing people to not hinder themselves with false ideologies around telling themselves no, specifically with traveling in this case, but around whatever you want to do, right? There's a solution for whatever you want to do. And I tell myself, if if the answer is no, why am I telling myself no? And if it all boils down to fear, then that's not a real answer. Go do it, right? And I think that I want to be able to work with people that I can connect with 5, 10 years later after their international experience, and they have this awakening in themselves that they know that they can do whatever they want to because they've done this thing and they've gotten over that hurdle that many people are still telling themselves no to. I think the support in this room would be around having conversations like that and being open to sharing the challenges of getting over that hurdle, not necessarily of living abroad, but I'm willing to help you. But sharing that so that more people can have another data point to say, okay, this is something that I want to do, but even though I didn't find the solution, I know Kristen found the solution. So I can eliminate that. Let me go to the next thing and boil down to this is fear. I'm stopping me, and let me move forward to pursue my dreams.
So my vision at the end of the 6 months is to really be able to present myself as a well-respected business that's legit out here doing work in these streets, right? And so at the end of the 6 months, that is my goal. What you all can do to help is really say, hey, I know this girl who has a ponytail that does innovative yoga that may provide something along DEI at your corporation. Or this might be some interesting social emotional intelligence learning at the kids' school. So just really taking our names into rooms that we won't have the ability to walk in is really what I think would be most helpful.
Your network is your net worth.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think part of it is what I have learned in this program is that I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know the people that I need to know. And so that's part of it. I think business-wise, what I'm looking forward to is, because I'm literally way over here, is to actually have a completed business plan and a strategy and a website. And also be really clear about my offerings. I mean, for me, it's about the coaching, it's about the professional mentoring, and the consulting. It seems like a lot because I've always done a lot, but people have asked for it. For me, this is about flipping the script and saying, what do I want to actually offer? As opposed to, you ask me, I decide, and then you move on, or we stay together. To be clear about that moving into this space, is important to me, but also I think many of us have probably had that moment of like, oh, I want to do this. And you get so far and you're like, oh, I changed my mind. Oh, no, it's the pandemic. Oh, no, I sprained my ankle. I can't be a Zumba instructor. And so for me, it really is about like seeing it all the way through, particularly when there's so many things. I'm just on a constant learning curve that is steeper than any mountain. And so part of it is personal achievement, and part of it is really like, I would like to see this be a business and kind of set me up to kind of say, this is the business, not I do this on the side.
I know one of the conversations we actually had today, and it's, I'm sure you won't mind me sharing, Jamila Carney and I just were speaking about their journey so far and everything. And like we said, this was created by women for women, and we were intentional about even the curators of it and, you know, the facilitators. And one of the things that Jamila said, one of her reasons also for wanting to be a part and continuing to trust the process is she's seen the other side of people that, you know, our brand strategist has worked with and knows and sees the vision and sees the bigger picture. And that's keeping her, you know, entrusted and, you know, knowing that, you know, on the other side of through what's going to be there. Any other questions?
not really a question, but I want to thank Leanna and Danielle, and who did you say the third person was? And Joanne. And by the way, you're not co-nominators, really under-singing her own song. We don't have co-nominators for our projects, we have co-champions. That's how PD rolls. And y'all not only brought us an amazing project, and thank you, ladies, and everyone else in the program, because I, like her, was taking a lot of notes. But I think it's really an opportunity to actually have a dynamic experience, which we have been searching for years in our projects. And so I just want to thank our co-champions for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you think you do as Sherman Phoenix to go from the typical 20-some% success to your 80-some% success?
Absolutely. So you'll rarely hear me refer to the businesses in our building as tenants. They're business owners, because we don't have a tenant landlord relationship. Some of you may not know, December 15th, we actually became the landlord. We actually purchased the building from the investment group at the foundation did. But there has never been that type of relationship at the Sherman Phoenix. Even in its infancy, Joanne and Julie saw, you know what, many of the businesses that are coming, this is their first brick and mortar, or this is their first business. In fact, when the article came out in Milwaukee Business Journal, some of the businesses that were listed only had people's first and last names. They didn't even know what the name of their business was going to be. But being insightful and realizing that these businesses are going to need support. So from day one, Sherman Phoenix, even as a for-profit model, partnered with organizations like SCORE, like WIBIC, like Scale Up, and various other business consultants. In year 2, brought in somebody actually on a paid contract to do coaching and business consulting with the businesses that needed it and that were open to it, doing referrals, doing supportive services. When they could, offering relief during the pandemic when nobody was working, being able at the time to go to a funder who had actually given funds that was supposed to be for a build out in the lower level and saying, hey, no one's been able to work for 6 months. We're a mall, we've been closed. Could we change this into rent relief for them so that they don't have to worry about how their lease is going to get paid? So I believe the difference is in me as someone coming out of higher education, working in student affairs and in workforce development for 20 years, it's about those supportive services, not giving a handout, but a help up, right? So giving support, teaching a person to fish instead of just feeding them. Because if you teach a person, if you feed them, they're going to eat for that day, but if you teach them to fish, they're going to eat for a lifetime. So actually building up the skills and the business prowess. And anybody that's been to Sherman Phoenix, and if you haven't come, 3536 West Fond du Lac Avenue, we invite you anytime. Check out our website for our events. But also, it's the Sherman Phoenix effect. So you walk in the building, you feel the energy. You feel the support. Recently, during one of the broadcasts during our 5-year anniversary, one of the businesses, his quote, and I've been using this for the last, since he said it, is, it was Titus from the massage therapist that's in the building from Ninth Cloud. He said, we all eat off each other. And he meant that by saying, he said, somebody comes in here to get a massage from me, they're going to go upstairs and they're going to buy some earrings from Jamila. They're going to eat at Junior's. They're going to possibly use Control-C for a copy and print job. So we all eat off of each other. So there's like natural mentoring, unofficial mentoring, and support internally as well.
Do you want to say anything, Lauren, or? Oh, I just want to say thank everybody for being here. We'll send out those links that we mentioned in the PowerPoint, so don't forget to get engaged. And yeah, I'll pass it over to Lauren.
One more round of applause for everybody. So on the Zoom, I wanted to let you all know that there was a lot of encouragement and love. So you'll have to check out that. Check out the Zoom of just around supporting you all. It's only up from here, all of that good stuff. There were questions around what success looks like. So I know we kind of discuss that, but I'm looking forward to continuing to figure out what that looks like for us collaboratively. I think that there are angles that I'm focused on as kind of our representative PD leader around how this also supports and advances women more broadly, how the policies and decisions that we make and that we're trying to push on the PD side help with your businesses, and how your businesses being successful grows professional dimensions. So I think that there are a lot of plays and reasons behind why this is just an incredible choice, and why those other organizations let this be the winning one so that we could have this partnership. So I know the slides, you couldn't see the slides from there. For those who are new to this No Studios production, we're really focused on a beautiful production. I want to thank Power Forward Media, Jeff, for that work. Always here consistently. We're building out some new programming so that you all can access this online. But what you all couldn't see was that online they were looking at the slides and seeing the pictures. If you all, as you're leaving, can check out I kind of simplified the QR code pieces so that if you just stand here for just maybe 15 seconds, you'll see all of the things that you can scan in order to engage and get signed up for the database. So I think that's it. It was just more logistical, and just wanted to appreciate you all for being here, for your investment in this signature project and continuing the work of advancing women and girls and advancing women moving forward. Thank you.